In a small, sun-kissed village on the edge of a vast green plain, there lived a humble farmer named Puran, who dedicated his life to the land. Alongside him was his only son, Aamir, a bright-eyed boy of 10, with the same fierce determination that ran through his father's veins. The village was filled with colorful houses and cheerful chatter until one dark day when trouble began to loom over them, just like ominous clouds before a storm. Puran had heard whispers of a drought that threatened their crops, and he felt the fear of losing everything they had worked so hard for. Yet, with love and resilience, he did his best to shield Aamir from the harsh realities of life. For weeks, they toiled under the heat of the relentless sun, nurturing their crops and praying for rain. But the drought hung heavy in the air, and the once lush fields began to wither into a patchwork of brown and yellow. The village gathered to discuss their fate, and fears swirled among them, like birds lost in a tempest. "What will we do if the crops fail?" murmured one villager, while another lamented about their depleting resources. But Puran refused to succumb to despair, even as Aamir watched the anxious faces of their neighbors, knowing that hope was as much about vision as it was about survival. Eventually, the inevitable happened. The fields had turned to dust, and their meager harvest failed. The weight of despair hung heavy on Puran's shoulders, and he took Aamir by the hand as they walked home through the barren fields. It was a dark night filled with whispers of fate, and Aamir could sense the heartache in his father's silence. "Papa, what if we lose everything? We can't survive without food, without the harvest," the boy asked. His voice trembled with the innocence of fear. Puran looked down at him, his heart breaking, but he decided to teach his son the most crucial lesson of life. "Aamir, sometimes we must lose things to gain greater treasures," he said gently, uncertainty draping his voice like a dark cloak. Days turned into weeks, and hope was a flickering flame. As they longed for rain, one fateful morning brought unexpected visitors. 5 wild horses, wild and untamed, burst into their field. Beautiful, mighty creatures, their coats glimmered like sunshine, a vibrant contrast against the dull landscape. "We should tame them! They can help us plow when the rains come," Aamir exclaimed, his spirit ignited by the sight. But Puran, weary and cautious, hesitated. "They are wild, Aamir. Taming them will be a long and dangerous task," he warned. Yet, seeing the excitement in Aamir's eyes rekindled a flicker of hope in his heart. With effort and determination, the father and son dedicated their days to training the wild horses. In the midst of their efforts, disaster struck. Aamir fell from the back of a horse, landing awkwardly, and felt a sharp pain radiate through his leg as he cried out. The injury was severe, and Puran's heart shattered seeing his son in pain, chest tightening with sorrow. Unfortunately, village rumors said the farmer's misfortune was a punishment from the heavens. "You have the wild horses, now look what they have done!" they scorned. For weeks, Aamir was bedridden, his legs splinted and weak, while the villagers succeeded in placing heavy burdens of judgment upon his father. The farmer fell deeper into despair, burdened by guilt, watching his son grow pale and weak. Yet, amidst all the suffering, Aamir learned patience and resilience he never knew existed. Every painful day turned into opportunity. He spent hours watching the horses from his window and dreaming of galloping across the fields. And in the quiet of their hardship, Puran continually whispered hopeful lessons of life, urging Aamir to stay steady, never losing faith in what lay ahead. Then one fine morning, as the sun rose high and brightly in the sky, the first raindrops fell from heaven like blessed gifts to the earth. Aamir's leg had healed, and despite being weaker, he was ready to embrace life again. As the rains fell and the fields began to blossom again, so too did the bond between father and son strengthen under the boughs of the old neem tree where they would talk for hours. The villagers marveled, watching how Puran and Aamir were now key figures in the community, determined to make better use of their newfound fortune. But just as they felt the warmth of victory, their beloved horse, a magnificent creature that had been a gift from the wild horses they trained, ran away into the distant mountains in search of freedom. Murmurs of calamity flowed through the village once more. "There goes your fortune," some jeered. Despair crept back, overshadowing the father and son, and Aamir felt a familiar ache tugging at his heart. But Puran kept his composure and reassured him. "Son, stay hopeful. The winds of fortune change more than you will ever know." Weeks later, while the village still mourned the missing horse, the unexpected happened. In the golden light of a late afternoon, Aamir, while wandering beyond the fields learning his way back to happiness, saw something in the distance, a herd of horses. His heart raced as he sprinted back to tell his father. Puran followed him cautiously, holding his breath as they approached. It was then they found their runaway horse rejoined by 5 magnificent wild stallions, returning home to them. With joy bubbling over, Puran and Aamir worked together to tame the 5 new horses alongside the golden one they had initially lost. The horses thrived under their care, working effortlessly alongside them, doubling their capacity to plow their vast fields and produce more than they ever thought possible. On a bright evening, as they sat under the neem tree laughing and sharing stories, Aamir looked at his father with a heart full of gratitude. "You were right all along, father. I thought every ending was a tragedy, but instead, it was a new beginning." Puran smiled, his eyes twinkling with pride. "You see, my son, life is a winding river. What looks like a flood today might water your fields tomorrow. We're never wise enough to judge what life gives us right when it arrives." As the days turned into months, Aamir didn't just learn this lesson in his heart, he lived it, embodying patience and humility in success and setbacks alike. The villagers, once envious or scornful of Puran's hardships, recognized the farmer's wisdom as a guiding light. They began coming to seek advice instead of gossip, slowly understanding that every moment is woven into a broader tapestry, always connected, even through obstacles. In the love between father and son, in their will to persevere through storms, Aamir learned that the dance of life had unexpected steps that led to places of unexpected heights. As they stood together surveying their fields on a bright day, they smiled at every twist and turn life had presented them. It was now clear that every single chapter had its place in the story. And they finally understood. The journey through hardship had not only uncovered treasures but had taught them the most crucial lesson of all: to remain grounded in gratitude, patient, and hopeful. In the end, no one can judge the story of a life until the final word is written, and they rejoiced, waiting until evening to observe how splendid the day had truly been.